Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel. So in today's video I'm going to show you guys how to service the throttle body on your Toyotas. But before we do that, I want to explain to you why we are cleaning the throttle body. Why does the idle drop down? What's going on? How does this thing work? So we're going to briefly address that first, and then I'm going to show you how to clean it, what to do, what not to do, and everything in between. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. If you are a returning subscriber, well, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. And without further ado, let's get to work. So before we go clean the throttle body, I'd like you to understand why we're doing it and what's going on and how does this thing work briefly. Bear with me, this is important. Right around 1998, Toyota started with the drive-by-wire systems in the 100 series Land Cruiser. It was not exactly a drive-by-wire, but it was the closest thing to. It just had a throttle cable going all the way to the throttle body. You press it, that cable operates a little sensor, and that actuates a motor, and that's how the throttle opens and lets air in. Remember, engines need air, gasoline, compression, and ignition to run. In order to let the air in, the throttle body opens to control how much air is going in. Now, right around 2002, with the 2AZFE and the 2002 Camry, Toyota started with full-on throttle by wire, and this is a system that is important that you clean the throttle body on. Now, that system is very simple. Gas pedal. You press it, it's just a sensor, has one connector, a couple sensors here, tell the computer how much you're pressing the gas and how fast. And then, there's our throttle body. Here it is, it has electrical connector, no cable connected to it. Most of them will have coolant going to it, so it wouldn't freeze in the winter when you leave the car. All that coolant does is warms up the throttle body and keeps it warm. Now, if you look at the body of the throttle body, there is a motor right here, and that's what actually opens the butterfly. Let's talk briefly about that. When the engine is off, the throttle plate is closed, just like you see here. When the engine is running at idle, at fully warmed up idle, this will be open right around 16%. Keep that number in mind. Now it's open at 16%. 16%, let's say, is a small opening. As you drive and as oil and debris and all kinds of nasty stuff happens in the intake, you start getting carbon buildup on the edge of the throttle body. So what happens is the computer is always scanning, looking at the idle. It's not making micro adjustments like it would with fuel trim. It's actually looking at the broader picture. Is the car idling within the range that I want it to idle in? When it's not, it's going to keep watching. The next key cycle is going to change a little bit. It's going to change a little bit. And the more you drive it, it's going to adjust. So as your 16% is this much open, as you start adding carbon and stuff, that opening of the 16% becomes smaller and smaller. So the computer starts adjusting. Okay, well, to achieve my desired idle, I need to open that throttle body more. It'll still say 16%, but 16% in reality becomes a larger amount of throttle open. Well, the thing with throttle bodies is, when you go wide open throttle and the throttle is fully open, just like this, when you have debris, that's actually less, and it starts creating a turbulence. You're not going to notice this driving, but you'll notice it after you clean it. Things will be a little bit smoother. But the problem, and the reason we're cleaning the throttle body, is for idle, for the smoothness of idle. The thing is, that value of how much we're compensating to keep that 16% within the correct idle number that the computer wants, that's a learned value. You disconnect the battery, and this is a common thing. You disconnect the battery, all of a sudden your car idles very low, it dies and all that, because now it went back to the factory spec that this is a brand new throttle body and there's nothing to compensate for. So that's why you need to regularly clean your throttle body. It'll keep things running smoothly, it'll keep your acceleration smooth, it'll keep your idle smooth, and life is good. A few things about throttle body cleanings and a few misconceptions about this. Every manufacturer will be different. We're strictly talking Toyota, Lexus, and Scion products in this video. Nissan is different, Honda is different. We're focused on Toyota. Just wanted to make sure you are aware of that. Toyota does not have a calibration process when you clean these, when you take them off, when you disconnect them. There is no such thing. There is no computer here. There is this black thing that you see. It's just a little control board for the motor and sensors for the throttle position, and that's it. There's no computer here. This is all controlled by the engine computer. So, when you clean the throttle body, the only thing that's going to happen is initially your idle will be higher. You're going to drive the car until the computer makes its micro adjustments slowly over time, and it'll settle back down. That is normal. When you disconnect your battery and reconnect it, and all of a sudden the car is almost dying, and you clean the throttle body, you went back to the base, to when the car was new. So many of you will ask, well, should I just disconnect the battery every time? Wouldn't hurt, but I wouldn't recommend it, because remember, there are other learned values that you don't want to lose. Now, somewhere around 2014-15, disconnecting the battery actually does not erase the learned memory anymore. That changed. You have to go through the scan tool. So your best bet after cleaning the throttle body is just drive the car. The idle will be a little high. It'll be a little strange, but give it a few days. It'll settle, and life is good. The only other note I will add to this, in case you're ever dealing with throttle body issues, there is one fuse that is notorious to blow up when you jump start the car when it's completely dead. It's called the ECTS fuse. It's a 10 amp fuse. It actually controls the throttle body. So the common concern is my car doesn't accelerate past 10 miles an hour, or my gas pedal doesn't do anything. Always check your 10 amp ECTS, which stands for electronically controlled throttle system. Check that fuse is your first thing, and I'll actually set codes. The check engine light will be on, and that's how you'll know you have an issue. And of course, you press the gas pedal, nothing happens. I think that's an issue everybody will notice. So always check that fuse first when you have problems with the throttle body. These things are pretty trouble-free. They don't really have a lot of issues. The only issues they'll have is when they have excessive carbon buildup, or they've been introduced to water. How do you introduce a throttle body to water? Well, very simple. Drive your car through a big puddle of water, like a giant standing puddle of water, and you can actually suck water inside the engine, and this gets wet and starts corroding, and that's the end of that. Very dangerous when this guy gets corroded, because you could basically have a throttle that gets stuck. It's like the olden days where the cables used to get stuck. Having said that, let's go to the car and we'll talk about how we're going to clean this guy safely, without issues, without causing harm, and some do's and don'ts. So first things first, the truck that we're working on today is a 2005 Toyota 4Runner with our beloved 1GR FE. This will vary by car, but the basic idea is you want to remove the intake going to the throttle body. Few notes on that. Most of these cars are extremely simple. Some of them are laughably simple. The only ones that are a highlight for being slightly difficult is the 2AR and the 1AR FE engines, the 2.5, 2.7. Example is 2012 to 17 Camry, 09 to 18 RAV4. That's just one example. It's used in many other models. Those are a little difficult. Some of them will have a clamp. Some of them will have a 10mm bolt for the clamp. Those are going to be a little difficult, but take your time. The idea is you want to remove the intake hose going to the throttle body. So let me go ahead and do that on this beautiful 4Runner here, which I'd like to give a compliment to the owner because this is extremely clean. Let me take this off and we'll start cleaning. All right, so here's the throttle body. Here's the butterfly. Now, for reference, this throttle body is considered pretty dirty. Do you see how much carbon is on the butterfly and on the opening? Might be a little hard to see. I tried to get the best shot for you guys. So, a few do's and don'ts. As you've seen, I've pushed the butterfly with my hand. That's the speed you want to push it at. For reference, here's the other one. Don't push it with force like this. Don't do this. You want to push it slowly. Do you hear that sound? You don't want it making that sound because that's not good. Because remember, when you spin a motor, you're going to generate, and that electricity is not good. So you push it slowly where it doesn't make that whining sound. I hope you can hear it well. Don't do that. Open it gently and you're good. Do not use screwdrivers to open this and hold it up. Do not turn the car on and push the gas pedal down to open it. That is extremely dangerous. Be careful. You want the key off. You do not need to disconnect the battery for this. You just need the key off. Put the key outside the car to prevent accidental turning on of the key, or worse, starting the engine. And then you can push this butterfly by hand gently. Just don't go with force. The cleaner I'm going to be using today is a Toyota throttle plate cleaner. One thing I want to tell you about this: do not use brake clean. Do not use other solvents, degreasers, because remember, those leave a residue, and that residue ends up inside the engine and then could damage your catalytic converter. That's the whole idea. You could use carb cleaner, although I recommend you use a dedicated throttle plate cleaner. Now, this is a Toyota branded one. You don't have to use this one, and you're definitely not going to use this whole can, because this will last you a lifetime, basically. In a shop, this lasts months and months of cleaning multiple cars. You're going to only use a small amount. You're going to get a towel, preferably a shop rag or a very fine microfiber towel. That also works. You're going to spray a little bit on the towel. And then, this is the difficult bit, because you're going to open the throttle body, hold the top with your finger, just like so. It's open, and then you're going to go and clean the bottom. Look at that. Now, let's continue cleaning. The basic idea here is you're trying to clean where the butterfly contacts the body. You're not going all the way in to clean the intake and all that. You just want the area where the butterfly contacts the body to be clean, and a little bit behind it as well. Now that looks pretty good. I'll get you a close-up shot later when we're done, but let me continue cleaning. And then, when you're done with one side, you're going to clean the butterfly itself. It's very hard to get it 100%, so do your best to clean it as best as possible. Now that we're done with the bottom, let's do the top. The top is a little easier on the butterfly side. On the butterfly, you're also only cleaning the edge. Some people will go overboard with this, and that's okay, but you actually don't need to, because it doesn't do anything. You're only cleaning the contact surface. Then we're going to clean the top of the throttle body, which is a little bit more difficult because you're going upside down. Some of these throttle bodies, depending on their mounting location, can be easier. This one being one of the easier ones. Now when you're done, you're going to give everything a quick wipe and push outside in case you got any loose pieces of carbon or build-up or whatever you got there, dirt. Make sure you get it all out with the plate closed. At this point, I think we are pretty good. That looks pretty clean as you're going to get it. A little bit on the top plate. It's very hard for me to see this with the camera because the camera is taking my eye vision right now. So I'll have to clean this off camera. So, you get the basic idea. Clean it. Don't go overboard with it, but clean the areas that you need to clean, not going overboard too much. You can, if you want to make life easier for you, take the throttle body off and clean it from the back. You get a pretty good shot from the back. However, you do need to replace the gasket. And we don't want to overcomplicate things. You clean it like this, life is good. Now let me clean it a little bit more off camera so I can see, and I'll show you the final result in close-up so you can have a reference for you. So here's how the final result's going to look like. I hope you can see that. It's really difficult to catch it on camera, but you can see that where the throttle plate contacts the body, it is clean. And the same thing with the top. Really hard to see it. And it's actually casting a shadow. But you can put your hand and you actually feel a ridge where the carbon used to be. Make sure that ridge is gone. Same thing with the bottom. But if you get your throttle body this clean where the plate contacts, Do you see where the plate contacts right there? I'm trying to get it as best as possible. Do you see where the plate contacts right there? Right this place. Keep your eye on it. Do you see how it's clean now? That's where you want to get to. If you get your throttle body this clean, that's good. Remember, this is not a table for eating. It's never going to be 100% clean, but that's okay. We just want to get as much as possible out, and life is good. A few notes before we wrap up this video. Here's that can again. You can, folks, you can buy this at any Toyota dealerships. Some dealerships will use generic stuff from whatever. It doesn't matter that you have to get the original one. This is basically made by somebody else with a very expensive and fancy sticker on it that says Toyota. Just buy it from your parts store. It's the same thing. For you, DIY, if you don't have a lot of cars and you're not going to be doing this every other day, don't buy a can like this, because this is too much. This will last you 3 lifetimes. You're not using a lot of this product. And as a note, because I've had some viewers ask me, you will not use the entire can on one car. That is excessive. That is way too much. Please don't do that. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is you want to do this every 25 to 50,000 miles for ideal results. Yes, like the truck behind me, the owner has informed me that it has been only 191,000 miles since it has been done. Now the truck runs fine, everything is good. However, this is DIY. We're car care nuts. We'd like to keep things just one step above great. So do this every 25, 50,000. Take it as an opportunity to clean the engine cover, clean everything around, check everything while you're in there, and life is good. And a small note before we wrap up this video. After cleaning your throttle body like this, as a reminder, because I told you about this in the beginning, you're going to start this car, it's going to idle very high, probably go up to 2,000 RPMs. That is completely normal. However, you drive this car for a day or 2 or 3, it should settle down and be very smooth and nice and calm. If that doesn't happen, go back, check for vacuum leaks, something that you left unplugged, because vacuum leaks will actually increase your idle. So I just wanted to let you know that, so when you go start it, you don't freak out that all of a sudden it's idling super high. So now you know why you're doing it, how to do it, and what not to do while you are cleaning your throttle body. I hope this video was helpful, informative. I hope you learned something new. I hope this was not too difficult. This is very DIY. This is something I encourage you to do and save yourself some money. Any mechanic, of course, will be able to do this for you, but so simple, I would try it myself, just like replacing an air filter or whatever. Now you know all the precautions and life's good. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.